Breaking Wegovy versus Mounjaro slashes heart attack risk by 57%. A game changer. Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've lost over 112 pounds the last 2.5 years of being on Mounjaro, Zepbound, and Tirzepatide compound, not at the same time. The difference is because of shortages over the years. And on today's episode, I'm really excited to talk about the new data that just came out. I will link down below and cite my sources. Stay till the end. I have something also new on loose skin. If you are a loose skin person, I most certainly am. I've got something I've tested that I've been waiting to share with you guys. Okay, let's dive in. Novo Nordisk Wegovy cuts risk of heart attack, stroke, and or death by 57% compared to Tirzepatide. And Tirzepatide is the main active ingredient in Zepbound and Mounjaro. So, or if you hear me say Tirzepatide, I'm referencing for Tirzepatide compound. But Tirzepatide is the active ingredient in Zepbound and in Mounjaro. So a 57% compared to Tirzepatide in a real world study of people with obesity and cardiovascular disease. When I saw this, I was talking to the account about it. I saw this article come across my desk because it just got released as I'm filming this. I told my husband, I was like, that can't be true. Because Zepbound right now is the King Kong on the market for the most weight loss, like a bunch of different things. If you go through, it's the best, it's the most currently for brand names on the market. What's coming on the market, we've got Retatrutide coming on the market, and that is going to be the Godzilla, but that's not yet released. There's people who have it in the gray market who are taking Retatrutide. So if you hear that, that's not like Eli Lilly's one is going through clinical trials, but for brand names that are currently on the market, hearing this about this real world study, I'm fascinated. So compared with Tirzepatide, Wegovy, which is semaglutide. So if you hear semaglutide, 2.4 milligrams, by the way, that's the highest dose of Wegovy and Ozempic is 2.4 milligrams, showed a significant 57% greater reduction, of a risk in the risk of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, or death from any cause. People who are overweight or obesity and cardiovascular disease, so CVD, while on treatment. Similarly, the study showed a significant 29% reduction in the risk for heart attack, stroke, and death from any cause in the Wegovy users compared with Tirzepatide users in all treated people regardless of any gaps in treatment, which made me start thinking about gaps in treatment, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The findings support growing evidence that the established CV cardiovascular benefit seen in Wegovy is specific to the semaglutide molecule and therefore cannot be generalized in the GLP-1 or GLP-1 receptor agonist classes. So when you hear GLP-1 and GIP, that is Tirzepatide. And so this is fascinating. So let me repeat that real fast to make sure we've got it, is that the semaglutide molecule and cannot be generalized. It's establishing the cardiovascular benefit seen within Wegovy is specific to that semaglutide molecule. Yeah, I'm like, you could push me over right now. Now, there's a couple of flaws with this study that they found, which I'm going to poke through. I'm going to be scientific about it. I'm not woo-woo, airy-fairy. I like data. I like science. So we're going to break down the science of this. But Novo Nordisk presented at the Steer, which, by the way, I wanted to bring up my kids' Nintendo steering wheel so we could talk about Steer. So just pretend I'm using either Steer from a steering wheel or Steer like cow. So Steer, S-T-E-E-R. It was a study. The Steer study investigated the risk of major adverse cardiovascular events with Wegovy 2.4 milligrams compared to Tirzepatide. It was showed that significant risk in it with no treatment gaps for more than 30 days. There were 15.1% of these cardiovascular events recorded with Tirzepatide. The average follow-up duration was 3.8 months for the Wegovy group and 4.3 months with the Tirzepatide group. In all treated people, regardless of any gaps in their treatment. So this is if people stop the medication. This is where I find this part fascinating. Regardless of any gaps in their treatment, Wegovy showed a significant 29% risk reduction for heart attack, stroke, and death from any cause compared to Tirzepatide over the average follow-up of 8.3 months for Wegovy and 8.6 months of Tirzepatide. There were 56, which was 0.5%, of these cardiovascular events recorded with Wegovy, and 83 events, 0.8%, were recorded with tirzepatide. In the STEER study, that STEER study, patients using Wegovy had greater cardiovascular improvements compared to tirzepatide, indicating the same cardiovascular benefits cannot be generalized across other molecules in the GLP-1 or GIP-GLP-1 classes and may come specifically from the semaglutide molecule. Real-world studies like STEER provide us with important insights into how treatments may serve patients outside these controlled clinical trials as we continue to learn more about the benefits of Wegovy beyond weight management. Additionally, in all treated people, regardless of any gaps in their treatment, people treated with Wegovy experienced fewer events of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular-related death than people treated with tirzepatide. It's important to note that semaglutide injection 2.4 milligram contains a box warning about possible thyroid tumors on there. And that goes in, we know that that goes into, like, if you have a thyroid history, cancer, the thyroid cancer in your family. It's a familial genetic family history. So every year, almost 21 million people die from cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of disability and death worldwide. Obesity directly leads to cardiovascular morbidity, mortality, and hospitalization. While cardiovascular mortality has decreased over the past 2 decades, obesity-related cardiovascular deaths have increased significantly, with 2 in 3 obesity-related deaths being linked to cardiovascular disease. So with this STEER study, this is where I was fascinated with the real-world study in which they did. Evidence gathered from actual patients experienced the complement randomized controlled trials, in which gold standard for evaluating safety and efficacy treatment. Real-world data analyzes also have its limitations. While associations cannot be demonstrated, causal relationships cannot definitively be established. Results may reflect potential unmeasured confounding the relatively recent approval of both treatments, limited follow-up duration, and administrative claims data may be subject to coding inaccuracies. STEER was a retrospective observational real-world study evaluating the efficacy of semaglutide 2.4 milligram versus tirzepatide in lowering a risk of MACE in U.S. adults that are overweight or obesity and established cardiovascular disease with no prior history of diabetes, with primary outcome measure of revised 5-point MACE: heart attack, stroke, hospitalization for heart failure, coronary revascularization, and death from any cause. So it's going through all this. So this is where, okay, a couple of things I want to poke the holes into first. I'll keep going back because I want to come back about the study, including this research database in there. Each treatment group was comprised of 10,625 people. The research used propensity score matching to compare Wegovy users to tirzepatide users with similar characteristics after matching characteristics were well balanced between the group. What I am trying to find out with this study, first and foremost, for me, my red flag, immediately I get a little skeptical sometimes, just a little sometimes, because the data is so overwhelming of how much tirzepatide helps lose weight, but the data, in fact, for this real world study is saying, no, in fact, Wegovy is higher data and better data than the tirzepatide. But for tirzepatide, they're using Wegovy's highest dose in this real world study. Was the tirzepatide highest dose used? What was the dose in it? I still keep looking for that through this article. So if you guys, I'm going to keep going. But I think that that's an important point to know. Are we comparing the highest dose of Wegovy versus like Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, which is the beginning dose, or Zepbound 5 milligrams, which is the second dose? It goes up to Zepbound 15 milligrams. That is the highest dose. So are we comparing highest dose to highest dose? Like, that's where I'm like, it's my little like ostrich poking, peek, peek, peek. The other thing, and I'm going to come back over to this part, but Reuters had talking in here. It said real-world studies cannot prove cause and effect the way randomized clinical trials do. Other limitations of the study include short follow-up duration. I do think that it was interesting. It was over 8 months later that they did the follow-up. And I do also find this is one of the biggest things to me that leaped off the page was like the gaps of it. If people had a 30-day gap on there, they were included with a 30-day gap, but also talking about gaps in there that it said in there that people still had great benefits even if they lapsed in their treatment. No, like that to me right there, I think is what it like. I was about to say, forget the heart attacks. No, let's not forget the heart attacks. Let's not forget the heart attacks. That is huge and that's amazing. But to me, one of the most fascinating things that you can still have a lapse in treatment and still get the amazing benefits months and months and months later with this. That is interesting to me too. Okay, let's keep going down through about, sorry, I just like smashed my tooth with my excitement. My little teeth are chitter chattering. That really, I heard my tooth crack. I went, oh, okay. Making sure they're still in there. The score of the real world study in the US that analyzed the MACE outcomes among Wegovy 2.4 milligram users and non-users in real world clinical practice who met similar inclusion criteria as the SELECT trial were aged over 45 years old with overweight or obesity and established cardiovascular disease without diabetes. So over 45 years old. I would not be included in that. Wait, am I 45? No, I'm 44. Yeah, I would not be included in that. Got a couple more months and then I would be included. My booty would be included. We got to make jokes here. We're talking about heart disease. We got to somehow make this interesting, friends. Okay, so going back over to this, talking about Wegovy, it says that may help adults and children aged 12 years and older with obesity. And so the prescription medicine is used with a reduced calorie diet and increased physical activity. It is not known if Wegovy is safe and effective to reduce the risk of major cardiovascular events, death, heart attack, and stroke in children under 18 years old, and for the treatment of long-term weight loss in children under 12 years old. So we said under 18 years old and then under 12 years old. So because children are now getting looped into semaglutide, which is amazing to have. We know obesity is a disease, and so that there's these treatment options too. That's exciting. That's really, really exciting. So I found this fascinating. I want to go back over to my Reuters article here, and then I want to talk about loose skin. Then I've got some loose skin conversation too. We're saving our hearts and we're saving our loose skin bodies. Okay. So Zepbound and Wegovy currently dominate the weight loss market, with analysts expecting to reach $150 billion in the early 2030s. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is reviewing a high-dose oral version of Wegovy for potential approval later this year. Novo said it helped with overweight and obese adults lose 15% of their weight in late-stage trials. Earlier in August, Novo Nordisk implemented a global hiring freeze for non-critical job roles, highlighting the increased competition in the industry, which also led to Denmark slashing its 2025 economic growth forecast. The whole country of Denmark, by the way. I'm not talking about a city or town. I'm talking about a country. Denmark as a country slashed their 2025 economic growth plan as a result of the changes with Novo Nordisk. Because remember, if you remember was it CagriSema did not perform well in the clinical trials. And that made this huge domino effect, including changing literally the Denmark country 2025 economic growth forecast, anticipating dampened growth expectations for the pharmaceutical giant. And in fact, they got rid of their CEO. I was going to say fired, but I think he stepped down, if I'm remembering correctly. He's gone either way, he's leaving. He's like on the way out. He's on the way, either he's left or he's leaving on the way out. So I find this fascinating. The findings could be a boost for Novo Nordisk, which has been losing the US market share to Zepbound since becoming Europe's most valuable company last year in booming sales of Wegovy. The data gathered from more than 21,000 patients and presented at the European Society of Cardiology meeting in Madrid also showed a 29% reduction in heart risk and death from any cause in Wegovy users compared to Tirzepatide users, regardless of any gaps in treatment. Like, that blows my mind, regardless of any gaps in treatment, meaning that people stop the treatment part there for a hot second. Hot potato. Hot potato, you want a hot potato. My kid plays that game. Does your children or grandchildren play that game? So the actual number of the major adverse heart events was low for both drugs. The average follow-up duration was 3.8 months for the Wegovy group and 4.3 months for Tirzepatide. So, y'all, this is great news for us. All the way across the board, this is great news. Will this lead, with this information, if you are on Zepbound, to you switching from Zepbound to Wegovy? For me, I go back to I'll use my I statements and then I'll also talk about the data. The data says that Zepbound is King Kong. It beats out Wegovy in terms of weight loss. But if your goal is cardiovascular, like heart attacks and things like that, like this is from real world studies. It's not clinical trials, but I think that adds I think that's fascinating. That was from the real world data. But they're saying in here about how there's issues with real world data, as I've already stated, of using that real world data. Cannot prove cause and effect of the way randomized clinical trials do. And other limitations to this study include the short follow-up duration, which I said it was actually, what it had said in here was, what was it, 3.8 months for Wegovy group and 4.3 months for the Tirzepatide. So we're going to have continuously have testing on all of these things. Regardless, we do know for Zepbound, though, we do know that it does help with reduction of cardiovascular events. We know that's fact. But 50%, but it sure makes a great headline, though, for 57%, significant 57% greater risk reduction for heart attacks, stroke, and cardiovascular related death or death from any cause while on treatment with no gaps for more than 30 days compared to Tirzepatide. Like, that blows my mind. This is exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive, friends. So if you're working out, I know a lot of you guys work out while you listen to me. So if you're pumping your heart right now, that's amazing. Right now, my heart is pumping. It's 110 beats per minute. Whew, that is a lot. Clearly, I'm excited about this topic. Okay, let's switch over to a little bit of loose skin. I am so excited. Speaking of excited, I bought this. You guys know I buy and test things without much... I buy and test a bunch of stuff for y'all because I want to, and a lot of it does not make it to air because there's a lot of garbage. Then what I test, if it's Countess of Shopping approved, I have worn this today. And so obviously I need more testing on it. But from my initial reports, I had to share about this. It's called a faja. Have you guys heard of that? F-U-J-A. And so they're fajas. And so I don't know if they have fajas for men or not. Fill me in if they do. But they're like bodysuits. It's the most fascinating thing. Let me zoom in. And it's like a corset basically. And it goes up to like your cleavage is kind of like right here. But it's got corset-like material. And then you clip these all together, which it was kind of hard to clip each one of those little, not buttons, but they're like hook and eye. I wore them today. I wanted to test it out. And then it has these little pantaloons that are connected. And it's got this grippy. So then it grips to your legs. So you have like thigh reduction. It looked like I had a little thigh gap in there. I don't have a thigh gap yet. I mean, I have a thigh gap, which is exciting, but not like a full thigh gap, which is what my next, I'm working on that. But this, and then it had in the back, I looked at you guys know I have flapjack booty. It's like IHOP House of Pancakes back there, honey. It is flapjack city. I used to have like a gadonk, and no, I don't anymore. At Exhibit A on the left, it's like a ledge. It's like Mount Rushmore. You just fly straight down. Anyways, this little faja thing gives you a little booty. Can you guys see that? There's like a little booty fabric there, and it was like a little molehill. What is that, mountain out of a molehill? It was like a little molehill. It certainly was not a mountain, but it was a molehill from this little booty. I look back there, I said, oh, you go, girl. You look good. You look good. So anyways, and it wasn't crazy expensive. I washed this first in the washing machine, which I feared that I was going to ruin it by doing that. I washed it on gentle cycle, but I didn't want to put on a dirty faja on my bits and crannies. Now it has in here, so there's a point with this with loose skin, but I have to show one more feature. It has a zipper down in your cootie-coo where you can unzip it. See that zipper? And then it goes all the way back around to your rumpa-dum-dump. It goes all the way around the back. I find this fascinating. Did you guys know about fajas? Nobody told me about fajas. I've done loose wear. I've done an episode on it. And I've done it for like high corset type things. And I've done it for like shorts, but not this little gizmo. Y'all, I am very excited about it. And then it also has, because I'm so tall, where you can change the straps on there. There's like different levels. Hold on, let me fix mine. Like a little bra straps that goes on your shoulders. Y'all, I look good. I look good. I looked in there. I was waiting for my husband to compliment me. I was like looking, and he didn't really say anything. So I was like, But I still, anyways, regardless of not getting a compliment from my husband, maybe he was tired. We're gonna give him a pass for today. But I don't think I'm gonna wear my faja every day. But definitely we went out for a family party. It was for my kid's birthday. And so I wore this little faja. And you can see like with the fabric, and it's like thick. Like, I like this. So I'm gonna link it down below. I'm gonna link it, I got it on Amazon. I'm gonna link it down below. Oh, let me tell you my sizing. That was the other thing. I was very nervous about the size because I normally wear like a size medium. Actually, medium tops are getting a little bit too loose on me. I want them a little bit tighter. So I'm gonna try for size small tops, but I am definitely a size 14, 12 bottom. Leaning more into the 12, but definitely I have a big waist. That picture on the left is not like, I have an hourglass figure. And so I bought this faja as a size large. And so just to give some context. And I did that in part because my bottom area is thicker. So just to give, like in terms of sizing, top is like a medium, small medium, and bottom is like a 12, 14, and I got a large. So just FYI, and I didn't want it too tight either. I didn't want to be like Queen Victoria or something out of King Henry VIII, one of the wives with my corset. I couldn't be bothered that much with it, but I'm fascinated. So anyways, my loose skin on my tummy has significantly, it's gotten way more significant. And so I'll be doing a video later on this week talking about how to pick up a plastic surgeon for loose skin surgery. I finally have been ready. You guys know I want to do my due diligence and I research our episodes and things like that. So that will be coming out later on, talking about my loose skin surgery that I'm going to be having. But I have substantial loose skin now on my thighs and my stomach. My stomach recently, in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months has gotten a lot worse, even with me lifting weights. And so even with all this weight training, I still have, in some aspects, I'm like, has weight training made my loose skin worse? I don't know. Or have I just noticed it because I'm noticing my body more? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know I have a lot of loose skin. And so I'm really excited about this faja thing, my stomach, because my stomach on my pants, right where my pants connects, it droops over my pants now. It's so annoying. Even if I wear like high-waisted jeans, it like hangs. And that really annoys me. And so with this, I wore my outfit out for a little family thing, a t-shirt and jeans, and then I put a blazer over it. But having my little faja, you couldn't see the loose skin hanging. It looked flat, it looked taut. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you guys. That was a long rant about a faja. Now they do have faja for the arms, which I bought. I did, because then, y'all, I went down a rabbit hole. I bought this faja, and I said, my arms are sticking out. But here's where my problem is it's a faja for your arms. So for wintertime, this will be great. Because I got like, and don't comment. People are like, oh, your wings you got such bat wings. I'm like, you don't need to tell me, I know. I'm working on it, girls. I'm working on it. And gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't want to squish my fingernails by flexing too much. The gun show, sun's out, guns out. But I got this faja to tighten it. So I'm really excited, but I'm worried that there's going to be a gap in my arms between this piece of fabric and my arms with the arm faja. Plus, I need to put the arm faja in the washing machine because I'm a germphobe. Side note, also in our free encouragement group for our Pennsylvania meetup at the end of September, I just put that under the Countess section. You know how there's different sections. There's also weight milestone section. We're gonna do that. The Count is emailing me that. He was supposed to email me today, but we got wrapped up with my kid's birthday. So I will be announcing everyone's milestones at the end of one of my videos later on this week as well. For everybody in the group who lost weight, and you can get your milestone badges. I cannot wait to announce that. But I definitely did announce our meet and greet together in Pennsylvania at the end of September. That date, time, and location. I'm not going to put the location here on YouTube. It's going to be in the private group just for safety and security and things like that. So that is now in the group. I'll have an RSVP system too, because part of that will be pending me on QVC HSN. My HSN show time would be if I got bumped. So I explain all that in the post too, of like, the time is this time and this location is this, but if I get bumped, I have no control over that when HSN changes my show times. They haven't recently, but it is always possible. Hey, I think that's it, y'all. Great information today. What are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Tell me down below. Our emoji of the day today is going to be a heart, because we're talking about heart disease. And I do emojis of the day to get to know you better because I care. And our heart is the emoji of the day. It's also my bat signal to pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, uplift you in positive thought. I love you guys so much. If I haven't told you recently, I'm so grateful for you guys. You guys mean the world to me. I just booked my follow-up with my dietitian this Thursday this week. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I would not have booked it if it hadn't been for you guys. Like you guys being on my badootie with my dietitian. So I'll keep you posted on that. It's not that I'm falling into old habits, but I feel like I need like a little extra, I don't know, little Zuzu's pedals. So I had that on Thursday and I'm really, really pumped for that. So great things are going to happen this week. And I love you guys. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shop and count my blessings because life is delicious. And if you're working out, keep that workout going. I got to go lift. I'm really tired though, like really, really tired. Zepbound fatigue. So I don't know. And I get on an airplane soon. So I may not be lifting today. My intention is to, but I'm really, really tired. I'm going to listen to my body, but also I'm like, this is where I'm like, do I listen to my body or do I push myself because I have goals? I don't know. I'm trying to discern that. So anyways, I love you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.